Welcome! Today I'll be telling you a little bit about frost dates and showing you a neat tool that will give you the best estimate for your local frost date if you're in the United States or Canada. So let's get started. We're going to be using a tool called lastfrostdate.com. So let's head over there now. So this is a super simple and free tool. It's made by the folks at Bloom Manager, which I'll be talking about a little bit later. But basically there's one button, you hit calculate my frost dates, and it will take your current location, and again, if you're in the US or Canada, it will find the nearest weather stations to you, and then it will do a bunch of calculations to find best estimate for your local frost date. So just as it's loading here, I guess, what are frost dates? And there's kind of two different categories. There's the last frost date and the first frost date. The last frost date is the first day in the season where you expect for there to be no more frost. So in the northern hemisphere, this will be in the spring sometime when it's unlikely that there will be frost again. And that's a time you can plant out any plants that will be at risk of frost, causing any sort of damage. Your first frost date is at the end of the season, the first day that you can expect there to be a risk of frost. So these two dates are the outline of your growing season. Now, the thing with frost dates is that they're not perfect, accurate numbers. All they are is estimates, and they're estimates based on historic data. Most other tools will just give you one date and tell you like that's gospel. But what I like about this tool is it actually provides all the data for you. If you're someone like me who's okay planting things out a little bit earlier, covering them or taking them inside if needed, then you can actually probably use a much earlier date. I'll kind of go through each of these here. So let's start with last frost. So as you can see, it gives a high risk, a normal risk, and a low risk. The high risk date, there's a 70% chance of frost after this date. So over the past, 30 years or so, 70% of the time there's been a date with frost after April 13th. The normal risk is a 50% chance of frost, so it's 50-50 whether you'll be okay after April 19th. And then finally, the low risk is April 24th, where there's only a 20% chance of frost after that date. So again, in the last, 30 or so years, only 20% of the time has there been any frost after that date. So we can actually go and dig into this a little bit more. We can see a graph here that shows each of the temperatures, so 16 Fahrenheit here, and the probability at each date. So there's a 90% of probability that there's going to be a temperature below 16 on February 21st. But if you go all the way up here, you can see there's only a 10% chance that'll happen after the 22nd of March. So for frost, you can use 32 or maybe even 36. And you can go and say, I'm okay with a 30% probability of frost, 30% probability of, 32. And you can see that's April 24th, or I'm okay with a 40% chance, and that'll be April 21st. So it's a really powerful tool. And if you don't want to use this graph, you can just change, I'm okay with a 40% chance, and, where I'm at, I have a warm microclimate, so probably 28 will be fine. And you can see that'll be April 9th. So super, super granular, and you can get really specific, good data instead of just one date that doesn't give you any context. You can also change to any of the other stations. So, for instance, maybe something is closer, but not necessarily as representative of your kind of local climate. So you can, jump to something else and it will update everything for you there. Last frost is all the same. It's just kind of the opposite. It's the risk of frost before that date. So if you go November 1st, that's kind of like the latest date they provide. That means that there's a 70% chance that there will be frost before that date. So only a 30% chance that you'll be frost-free up until then. Normal risk, it's 50-50, October 26th. And then low risk, meaning it's really unlikely we'll be frost before October 19th. And again, you can look through these here, and it's all the same. So I hope you found this useful. Again, this is at lastfrostdate.com. It's totally free. It works in the United States and in Canada. You can really drill down on all the data, and it's definitely the best, most comprehensive way that you can learn more about your local frost dates. So hope this has been helpful.